It starts before the first crack of thunder even reaches you. Your dog is already panting, already pacing, already pressing themselves into the corner of the bathroom as if the walls might protect them from something you can't even hear yet. And you stand there, helpless, watching an animal you love completely fall apart, and nothing you do seems to reach them. You've tried holding them, you've tried ignoring it, you've tried the treats, the toys, the reassuring voice, and every time you watch the same thing happen. Your dog disappears into a version of themselves you barely recognize. Eyes wide, body rigid, shaking from somewhere so deep it doesn't look like fear anymore. It looks like something else entirely. If you've lived through this, you know exactly what that moment feels like. And you also know that almost everything most people tell you to do doesn't work. Not fully, not consistently, not in the way your dog actually needs. Here's why. Because almost everything you've been told about noise phobia in dogs addresses the symptom. Not one person stops to explain what is actually happening inside your dog's brain and body when that storm rolls in. And until you really understand it, none of the solutions make complete sense. You're just trying things in the dark. Today, that changes. Because by the end of this video, you are going to understand your dog's fear in a way most owners never do. And then, 5 vet-approved methods that don't just distract your dog from the storm. They work with their nervous system instead of against it. Stay with me. Because the first thing we need to address is the explanation most people believe. And it is almost completely wrong. Most owners assume their dog is scared of the sound. The bang, the boom, the crack. They see the flinch at each explosion and conclude, loud noise equals fear response, simple as that. And so they try to fix the sound problem. They turn up the television, they put on white noise, they try to drown out one sound with another. And this is where most people get it wrong. Because the sound is only one part of what your dog is experiencing. And in many cases, it isn't even the first signal their body receives. Research published in the journal Veterinary Record found that dogs with noise phobia frequently begin showing stress behaviors 15 to 30 minutes before a storm becomes audible to their owners. Not when the thunder starts, before it. Dogs are detecting changes in barometric pressure, shifts in electromagnetic fields, the low-frequency infrasound that precedes a storm front and travels through the ground and walls of your home like a wave your ears were never built to catch. Your dog isn't reacting to the sound. They are reacting to an atmospheric event that their body registered long before your mind even considered looking out the window. What's happening is much deeper than that. When a dog with noise phobia encounters these pre-storm signals, what fires in their brain is not simple fear. It is a full activation of the sympathetic nervous system, the same biological emergency response that would have helped their ancestors escape predators in the wild. Cortisol surges, adrenaline floods the body, heart rate spikes, the digestive system shuts down, the muscles prime for movement. Every non-essential function goes offline. This is not an overreaction. This is a nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that the threat never resolves. There's no predator to escape. There's no action that makes the storm stop. The body activates for a danger it cannot flee and cannot fight. And so it stays activated for minutes, sometimes hours, long after the last rumble fades. That state has a name. Veterinary behaviorists call it sensitization. And it is the reason that for many dogs, the fear doesn't get better over time without intervention. It gets worse. Every storm is another data point the nervous system files under confirmed threat. Every fireworks display teaches the same lesson. The world makes sudden, violent sounds, and there is nothing you can do about it. And each time that lesson is reinforced, the threshold for activation drops a little lower. But here's where it gets interesting. Because if you understand that the fear lives in the nervous system, not just in the perception of sound, then the solutions start to look completely different. You stop trying to remove the stimulus. You start working with the biology. And that is exactly what the most effective vet-approved approaches do. The first, and the one most owners overlook entirely, is giving your dog access to a genuine pressure anchor before the fear begins. There is a reason weighted blankets became one of the most widely adopted tools in human anxiety treatment. Deep pressure stimulation activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of the autonomic nervous system responsible for rest, calm, and recovery. It does this by triggering mechanoreceptors in the skin that signal safety to the brain. The body reads sustained distributed pressure as the threat has passed. It is safe to stand down. Anxiety wraps like the Thundershirt were developed specifically around this mechanism. And a 2014 study published in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior found that dogs wearing pressure wraps during storm events showed measurable reductions in heart rate and observable reductions in fear behaviors compared to control groups. The wrap doesn't sedate them. It doesn't distract them. It speaks directly to their nervous system in a language built from millions of years of mammalian biology. The key most owners miss: it has to go on before the storm. Once a dog is fully activated, the cortisol is already circulating, the adrenaline is already in the bloodstream, Pressure at that point helps, but cannot fully interrupt a fear response already in progress. Watch the weather. Put it on early. Let it do its work while the nervous system is still accessible. And this is where most people get it wrong about the second method too. The second approach is the designated safe space. Not just a crate, not just a corner, a specific, consistent, pressure-tested environment your dog can access on their own terms during every single storm. Dogs are descended from den animals. The instinct to seek a confined, enclosed space during threat is not learned behavior. It is ancient. It is in the architecture of their brain. And when a dog can retreat to a space that is genuinely theirs, dark, enclosed, and consistently available, the nervous system gets something it desperately needs during a fear event, a sense of agency. Research from the University of Pennsylvania's School of Veterinary Medicine found that dogs given predictable access to a safe haven during noise events showed significantly lower overall anxiety scores than dogs who were comforted by owners but had no consistent retreat space. The human reassurance helped, but the space helped more, because the space was something the dog could control. And control, during a moment when everything else feels uncontrollable, is one of the most powerful calming forces a nervous system can experience. Cover the crate with a blanket. Put a worn item of your clothing inside. Keep it in a room with minimal windows. And critically, never close the door unless your dog already loves the crate. A dog who chooses to be in the space recovers faster than a dog who is placed there. Now, but that's only part of the story. Because the third method addresses something that most owners have been doing backwards their entire lives. And it involves the way you respond to your dog during the fear itself. There is a widely repeated piece of advice that has caused an enormous amount of harm to dogs with noise phobia. You've heard it. Don't comfort your dog when they're scared, because you'll reinforce the fear. This is wrong. And veterinary behaviorists have been saying so for over a decade. Fear is not an operant behavior. It cannot be reinforced the way a trick can be reinforced with a treat. Your dog is not choosing to be afraid in order to receive comfort. They are in a genuine neurological crisis. And your presence, your calm voice, your physical contact, these are not rewards. They are co-regulation. Dr. Karen Overall, one of the most respected veterinary behaviorists in the world, has been explicit on this point. Comforting a frightened dog does not make the fear worse. Abandoning a frightened dog does. Because the absence of their primary safe person during a threat event teaches the nervous system that neither the external world nor their social anchor is reliable. That lesson compounds the phobia rather than reducing it. Stay with your dog. Sit near them. Speak quietly. Let them press against you if that's what they need. You're not making it worse. You are being the thing their nervous system is most desperately reaching for. But here's where it gets interesting. Because the fourth method is one that most owners have heard of and almost none of them apply correctly. Desensitization and counter-conditioning. The words sound clinical, the concept is simple, and when it's done right, it is the only approach that actually rewires the fear at the level of the brain rather than simply managing it. Here is how it works and why it works. In the dog's brain, the sound of thunder and the emotional experience of terror have been linked through repeated association. The nervous system has built a neural pathway that runs directly from that specific auditory input to full sympathetic activation. The fear isn't a choice, it's a conditioned route. Desensitization interrupts that route by reintroducing the stimulus at a volume and intensity so low that the fear response does not fully activate. Counter-conditioning pairs that low-level exposure with something the dog's nervous system links to safety and reward, high-value food, calm play, physical closeness with the owner. Over time, the brain builds a competing association. Thunder begins to predict good things happening rather than crisis arriving. The neural route shifts. A 2020 study in applied animal behavior science found that structured desensitization protocols using recorded storm sounds resulted in significant long-term reductions in fear behaviors in dogs with moderate noise phobia. The critical detail, the process only works if it starts below the dog's fear threshold. A recording so quiet, your dog looks up once and then goes back to sleep. If they're already showing stress, the volume is too high, and you've just run another sensitization trial. Go quieter, go slower, build the new association before you test it. And the science gets stranger here, because the fifth method operates on a mechanism that most owners have never even considered. The fifth, vet-approved method is olfactory anchoring, using scent as a direct neurological calming tool. Remember that a dog's brain dedicates proportionally 40 times more processing power to scent than a human brain does. Scent doesn't just carry information for a dog, it regulates emotional state. The olfactory bulb connects directly to the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, and to the hippocampus, the center for emotional memory. Scent bypasses conscious processing entirely. It lands in the emotional brain before rational response has a chance to form. Adaptil, a synthetic version of the dog-appeasing pheromone produced by nursing mother dogs, exploits this pathway directly. A 2010 study published in the Journal of Veterinary Pharmacology and Therapeutics found that dogs exposed to DAP diffusers during noise events showed a clinically significant reduction in fear behaviors compared to placebo groups. The pheromone doesn't sedate, it doesn't suppress. It speaks to the limbic system in a chemical language that predates domestication entirely, the signal a mother's body uses to tell her offspring that they are safe, that the world can be faced, that she is there. Plug a diffuser in the room your dog retreats to. Run it continuously during storm season. Combine it with the pressure wrap in the safe space, and you have created an environment that addresses the nervous system from 3 separate angles simultaneously. And this is where it all comes together. Because what every one of these 5 methods has in common is not complexity. It is alignment. They all work by communicating with your dog's nervous system rather than trying to override it. They don't ask your dog to stop being afraid. They create conditions under which the fear has somewhere to go. A dog with a pressure wrap, a safe space, a calm owner, gradual desensitization, and an olfactory anchor is a dog whose nervous system has been given every available biological tool to regulate itself back from the edge, not in spite of the storm, during it, one breath at a time. If your dog has been suffering through storms alone while you've been trying to fix the sound, today is the day that changes. You now understand what is actually happening in their body. You know the 5 methods that veterinary science supports. And you know that the most important thing you can do in those moments isn't to make the thunder stop. It's to be someone your dog's nervous system can anchor to. That was always within your reach. You just needed to know where to aim. If you've watched your dog fall apart during a storm and felt helpless, I hope this gave you something real to work with. Leave a comment and tell me which of these you're trying first. And if you want to understand more about what's happening inside your dog's emotional world, our next video goes somewhere most people aren't prepared for.